had done. Verse 10, let's read 10 through 14 together. At that time, the servants of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon marched up to Jerusalem, and the city came under siege. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to the city while his servants were besieging it. King Jehoiakim of Judah, along with his mother, his servants, commanders, and his officials, surrendered to the king of Babylon. So the king of Babylon took him captive in the 8th year of his reign. He also carried off from there all treasures. Notice that. All treasures of the Lord's temple and the treasures of the king's palace, completely plundering the whole area. It says he cut into pieces all the gold articles that King Solomon. You remember those studies that we had together about all the gold and all the silver and all the things that King Solomon put inside the temple. It was abundant, probably the richest time in their history as a nation. Well, now the Babylonians are coming in and taking everything out of the palace and out of the temple. It says, just as the Lord had predicted. In verse 14, he deported all Jerusalem. Now, I want you to hone in there on that word all, okay? All, but keep listening to the text. He deported all Jerusalem and all the commanders and all the best soldiers. 10,000 captives, including all the craftsmen and the metalsmiths. Okay, but notice this very last part of verse 16. Except for the poorest people of the land, no one remained. I just bring that up to you because there's a lot of times when we read in these scriptures, I got to be honest with you, when I was younger and reading through this, I read the word all, it's pretty simple, right? And so I'm like, okay, so everybody's gone. But it's important to note here, because we're going to pick it back up in a point we're going to make in just a moment, that when it says all, it doesn't actually mean every single living soul. It is the abundance. It is the majority. That God takes the majority of them by the hand of King Nebuchadnezzar and wipes them out of the promised land. But who is it? Look there in your Bibles again. There are some people that get to remain at the very end of verse 14, except for the poorest people of the land. No one remained. So there are these certain groups of people that remain to be in the land. Take care of the land. Make sure it doesn't go completely wild. And so God leaves a remnant. Yes, the majority of everybody is gone, but there is a remnant that is allowed to stay. That doesn't mean they get all the blessings of the promised land. We'll pick that up in just a moment. But we have Jehoiakim, his son, both in power. They're both evil in the eyes of the Lord. Both of them bring the judgment of the Babylonians upon them. And then it gets worse. It's practically plundered. But as we continue through history, look at what we have. We have chapter 24. Let's pick up again in verse 17. Verse 17. The king of Babylon made Mattaniah, Jehoiakim's uncle, king in his place, and changed his name